This is on behalf of the Des Moines Public Schools Board. In 2023, the Des Moines School Board hired JG Consulting to conduct the superintendent search. Hiring a search firm is common practice across the country in high-profile job searches, such as the superintendency. Today, the board chair directed counsel to take legal action against JG Consulting, which led the 2023 search and the hiring of Ian Roberts. The firm failed its duty to properly vet candidates. Ian Roberts should have never been presented as a finalist. And if we knew what we knew now, he would never have been hired.
Good morning, my neighbors! Hey, you! Yes! Yes! You too!
So I want to bring you some updates on the now infamous illegal alien school superintendent who was taken into ICE custody last week in Des Moines, Iowa. Because the story has somehow gotten crazier the more that we learn. Just to briefly recap for those of you who may have forgotten. Last week, the Des Moines school superintendent, this is the person in charge of the entire school district and public school system, right? Overseeing, we're not talking about a janitor or even a teacher, even the administrator of a school. This is the top education official in that county. Was apparently arrested by ICE for being an illegal alien. But it doesn't stop there. This individual fled from police. Okay, there was a high-speed car chase involving a school-owned vehicle, right? This is a school district vehicle. He's running from the cops and he dumped, it turns out, illegal guns that he was in possession of in the middle of the woods, and ultimately he had to be detained. Well, ladies and gentlemen, what has emerged ever since is that he is, first of all, being now federally charged for being obviously an illegal alien in possession of firearms. But ladies and gentlemen, even further on top of that, we are learning more about the guy's criminal history, about the fact this guy already had an active deportation order out, and yet the Des Moines school system hired him anyway. Okay, this scandal, frankly, I think goes a lot deeper than just this one superintendent who frauded people. How was this allowed to happen? That is the central question. But apparently, he also had registered to vote in different states. His driver's license did not even match Iowa. He was hired without an actual work authorization, and yet despite all of it, okay, a lot more crazy details we got to bring you. But despite all of it, many liberals to this very day are still defending Mr. Dr. Ian Roberts, the illegal alien from Guyana who is basically coming to America in real life. Although I have to say, that behavior should not be all that surprising. Because in my eyes, Dr. Ian Roberts is truly the archetype of a Democrat, right? If you made a Democrat in a lab or asked AI to generate one for you, this would be the situation. Illegal alien from Guyana, massive criminal history, overstayed his visa, working without authorization, registered to vote illegally, also DEI hired to a prominent position in this country. Ladies and gentlemen, I mean, Democrats should frankly be running this guy for president. This is their model candidate. This is the perfect representation of everything that their political party stands for. And so I look at the fact that even despite all of the details, there are still leftists out there protesting on behalf of this insane lunatic criminal, and even the school board, as of up until recently, has been trying to defend the guy. I mean, it really should not be all that surprising. But all right, in today's video, I want to bring you some of what we've now learned about this, coming to America character in today's video. That said, guys, do us a favor. If you enjoy our content, make sure you hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Doing so is the best way to support our work and ensure that we can keep bringing you these videos. And that said, I mean, let us just first of all start off with the immigration side of this, because ICE, having now arrested this superintendent of public schools, identified him as an illegal alien from Guyana with an active order of removal since May of 2024. So while this guy was working for the school district and receiving over $300K a year in salary, the legal system in this country had already ordered a final deportation on him. And as pointed out, previously, but he had a prior weapons charge. The guy had a criminal history for having guns illegally because he's not a citizen of this country. He had a final order of deportation. Of course, he was arrested carrying a loaded handgun, $3,000 in cash, and a knife at the time of his arrest. And again, that's why I say model citizen for the Democrat Party. But take a listen.
Welcome back. Fox News alert out of Iowa. Get this. The superintendent of Des Moines Public Schools, Ian Roberts, arrested this morning by ICE. According to officials, Roberts is an illegal immigrant from Guyana with a prior weapons charge and a final order of removal. He was allegedly carrying a loaded handgun, $3,000 in cash, and a knife at the time of his arrest. A superintendent of Des Moines Public Schools. The district says it doesn't have any confirmed information on his arrest or what the next steps will be. I have some next step ideas. How about fired and then deported?
Yeah, so again, just to recap where we are. This guy was hired as a superintendent of public schools when he was an illegal alien with a criminal history and repeated orders for deportation. Okay. Well, he has now since been federally charged, as we mentioned for you. The criminal complaint reveals that Dr. Ian Roberts filed for permanent resident status 4 different times and was denied for obvious reasons, and did not have lawful employment authorization since 2020, which adds a completely different component to this situation that further leaves you scratching your head, right? Again, if the guy didn't have work authorization, how exactly did he get hired to the Des Moines system? How are you even doing payroll or anything for this guy? And by the way, again, you're going to hire the most important person in your school district. You're not going to run a simple background check or e-verify? Utterly insane. That's why I say, I mean, frankly, the entire school board should resign for this atrocity, frankly. But, you know, again, it is, yes, remarkable that the school system would hire someone who has no legal right or even a work authorization to be in the United States. What social security number is the guy even using? We have no idea.
It's remarkable that that school system would hire someone that has no work authorization, that has no legal right to be in the United States. So you really have to question their hiring practices. 2, this individual knew that he had overstayed a visa. He knew he had no legal right to be in the United States. No work authorization, and yet he's going to continue to go down this path. Look, he could be a great individual, a fine, upstanding individual, but the facts remain that he is here in the United States illegally. He has a number of different ways to cure that illegal entry into the United States, and over time, he's chosen not to.
Right, so here's the full story on his immigration record. Roberts overstayed a visa. He came here on a student visa in 1999. He's basically been in the country illegally for over 20 years. He was arrested on a weapons charge in 2020. Still working at the time, I think, in a school district in Pennsylvania. He was selected as the Des Moines superintendent in 2023. There was a deportation order for him since 2024, and he evaded arrest, tried to flee from ICE officers in 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, the man in charge of the largest public school district in Des Moines, Iowa. But the situation does actually get worse. Because not only, again, typical Democrat, right? Not only is he a fraud doing criminal illegal alien from Guyana who's being anointed to DEI positions, it turns out, according to recent investigations, that he also registered to vote, obviously illegally. He's an illegal alien in the state of Maryland, as you can see reported by the Iowa Standard. Shortly after the final order of deportation was issued in May of 2024, Ian Roberts was pulled over in Iowa driving 25 miles per hour over the limit in a 70 mile per hour zone. Using information from that ticket and checking Maryland voter registration, it does appear that Ian Roberts, the illegal alien, registered to vote in Maryland back in 2017. That is right, ladies and gentlemen. He even registered to vote in the state of Maryland, apparently, in their brilliant wisdom and their amazing systems that we are told are so secure and so safe in this country, never once figured out to get this guy off the voter rolls, much less charge him with voter fraud, which they tell you doesn't actually happen in the United States. But clearly, they have no way to actually enforce this stuff. But take a listen.
So the school board chair, Jackie Norris, says that Roberts had represented himself when he was looking for employment there in Des Moines as an American citizen. This is what she said.
We can tell you that on his I-9, he stated he was a citizen and he provided 2 forms of verification, a driver's license and a social security card. As is typical in other organizations, this is what employers ask of their employees. And as an employer, we trust employees to fill out the required forms truthfully and provide valid documentation.
Again, we trust employees.
Okay, Iowa's a Republican state. Why don't you have an e-verify system, right? Yeah, they're supposed to fill it out, but don't you verify anything? That's a thing. You can do it. They just chose not to. That's why I say it's a scandal for the whole state, frankly, but...
Ways to fill out the required forms truthfully. Ronald Reagan said it best, trust but verify.
Absolutely, John. Trust but verify. And we do have word as well that he was registered to vote in Maryland. And I know, as a former commissioner of elections in Iowa, that we have forms and you have to swear on that form that you are an American citizen. But it doesn't mean that we don't verify. So this is completely on the school board. They were trusting this gentleman, but they did not verify. And again, with a weapons charge that they knew about but allowed him to explain away, they did not go back and verify his status with that incident either. So again, this falls squarely on the chair board president as well as the board there for the Des Moines public school system, but it's an atrocity.
And there you see on your screen, by the way, again, apparently students at this high school are staging a walkout. I'm going to guess that was egged on by the teachers who are still trying to go out and defend on behalf of the liberal cause. This guy should stay in the United States and this guy should be our superintendent. Frankly, I think maybe the reason why Democrats are so defensive over this individual is because, I will reiterate, he represents everything the Democrat Party stands for, right? This is why I say he's the final boss of illegal immigration. This is like the true Democrat voter, ladies and gentlemen. And by the way, furthermore, it also verifies a lot of the so-called conspiracy theories that we have about kind of what's going on in our country, right? Because they say on one hand, there's no DEI hiring. That's a racist myth. And yet here you hired an obvious DEI guy who, forget even being qualified or not for the position, was not even legally in the United States to begin with. And you furthermore say that, illegal aliens are just working the jobs. They're not really working important positions in our society. They're just doing the manual labor stuff that Americans, quote unquote, won't do. And yet here you have a superintendent, apparently. You mean to tell me there's not a single American citizen who would take the job and be more qualified for the job as Des Moines superintendent? And then furthermore, right, they tell us certain things about the election system. And yet here you have a guy who was an illegal alien who registered to vote. And apparently never got caught until just now when people have finally figured that out, on top of many other things. Right? They say there's no massive fraud going on, for instance, when it comes to the employment system. Because this is something I so often bring up. They say, illegal aliens are not taking American jobs. They don't even have social security numbers. But then also they're working legally or this. It's like, okay, yeah, again, because there's mass employment fraud going on when it comes to illegal migration, which they also tell us is a conspiracy theory. They tell us no one's stealing fake social security numbers. So on so many levels, right? The fact that this guy, given his extensive history of, criminal charges, fraud, everything, shows that basically Trump and the Republicans are right about everything when it comes to things like illegal immigration or election integrity or verifying stuff in our system so that way there's not massive fraud going on, etc., etc. So that's, of course, why you have it, and of course, why Democrats have chosen to make this guy, as you can see, their new Kilmar Abrego Garcia, right? This is the guy. He committed every crime under the sun. He was committing voter fraud. He had weapons charges. He fled from the police. By the way, let's not forget a detail I maybe forgot to mention. He was arrested with $3,000 of cash in his vehicle, which was a vehicle owned by the school district, which raises further questions. I mean, was the guy just money laundering? Was he embezzling the funds from his own district? And what do liberals say? This is our guy. Trump is bad. So therefore, we're going to take the side, ladies and gentlemen, of career criminal and fraudster Dr. Ian Roberts. Okay, as I said, this is their martyr. And so, I truly do believe that when liberals or Democrats say something to your face and they say, Ian Roberts is our hero, we're going to protest on his behalf, he should be educating children in this country, you should probably take them at their word. So let it be said that the stance of the Democrat Party is indeed that Dr. Ian Roberts is an upstanding individual of society. They want more of these types of people in our country. They want them to have the top positions, and they want them to be educating your children, right? Far from a disavowal, they're out there still this week protesting on his behalf. So there you go. And again, if you still don't believe me on this, take a listen to just last week. As after, we were already learning about what was happening, not as many details about being registered to vote and all that stuff, but the Iowa school board chair was calling for, quote, radical empathy after the superintendent, who was again hired without work authorization with a prior weapons charge, was arrested by ICE for ignoring deportation orders. So now they're trying to walk it back, but make no mistake about it, they took this guy's side. You don't believe me? Take a listen.
It seems fitting to take a page out of Dr. Roberts' book and ask the community to engage in radical empathy as we work through this situation together. We do not have all the facts. There is much we do not know. However, what we do know is that Dr. Roberts has been an integral part of our school community since he joined over 2 years ago. During his time with our district, he has shown up in ways big and small.
He was arrested with a loaded handgun, a fixed blade hunting knife, $3,000 in cash.
Yeah, I mean, radical empathy for who exactly? For the criminal illegal fraudster who was embezzling taxpayer dollars and educating children? Or are we supposed to have empathy for the school board who seemingly somehow let this absolutely insane story, like something straight out of a comedy movie, actually fall through the cracks? No idea. But that said, okay, you might try to take the stance that, well, now that people learn all the facts, maybe they're just going to let this guy go and understand, okay, maybe we shouldn't die on this hill. After all, the first time we covered this, we told you about a Democrat state legislator in Iowa who initially put out this scathing statement against Trump. This is so cruel. How can you arrest the superintendent? And then when he realized what happened and why it happened, he deleted the tweet. But no, that's not true. This, ladies and gentlemen, is from October 1st. Okay, it is this week where anti-ICE activists, knowing everything that we've established, okay, multiple time career criminal, frauded the school district, teaching children, or in charge of teaching children, at least I should say. By the way, there's other evidence that he even lied about his qualifications, like he made up where he got his doctorate from. So all this stuff, right? No, they're out there protesting on his behalf. After the arrest of Ian Roberts, they reportedly formed a, quote, protective escort to occupy the facility grounds in an attempt to protect illegal aliens. So again, don't call me a conspiracy theorist. Don't call me a straw manner or like a misinformationist for stating that liberals are going out and defending this guy still to this day. Because here is the scene of the protests this week after learning everything that we have. So let it be made clear, people, yes, liberals in this party, and by extension the Democrat Party, absolutely believe this guy did nothing wrong, and that's the model citizen who they want in this country. An illegal alien who's committing voter fraud and is, lying to everybody, carrying illegal guns, breaking laws, all this stuff, and then educating children. All right, take a listen.
As many of us know and have seen on social media last week, one of our members, Jorge Eliezer Gonzalez Ochoa, and the Des Moines Public Schools Superintendent, Dr. Ian Roberts, were unjustly detained by ICE and abducted from our communities.
Unjustly detained by ICE and abducted for our communities. According to them, is what happens when you already have a final deportation order, you have a criminal history, and you're like frauding everybody. Okay? Unjustly detained. So, if that's the case, then at what point is it justly detained? If someone is an illegal alien mass murderer, right, they just killed several people, is that also unjust detention? I don't know. Because, on one hand, you hear some Democrats go out and try to argue that, well, nobody's against deporting the illegals with a criminal record. We're just saying that the taco shop people should stay. But then they shift the goalpost. No, it's very clear because, even under the Biden administration, those who did have a criminal record, you still weren't deporting. So no, they actually do believe, not misrepresentation, that violent criminal illegal aliens should be out on the streets in the community and even running superintendent positions at school boards. They're saying it to your face. You should believe them.
Does this make you all angry?
Yes!
Yeah, but I urge you to stay committed to this cause and use your anger and your outrage and those emotions that you have as motivation, because we must continue fighting for justice. It's important now more than ever.
Justice is when illegal aliens from Guyana should be allowed to educate children and never face sentences or punishments for crimes. That's justice, according to the left. Again, that's what these people are saying. You should just believe them. Just understand, like, this is the stance of the left wing. This is the stance of the Democrat Party. Even the so-called moderate Democrats are currently being audience captured by the radical left. Don't believe me? Look at the government shutdown. Look at why that's happening. So this is the Democrat Party, right? There you go. You want a representation of what we're campaigning against in the midterms? This is it. These are these people. They're telling you who they are to your face. They're saying it publicly. You should not assume that you're going to get anything different besides violent, illegal alien criminals running around and educating your children when you elect Democrats, because that's what they're advocating for and saying to it. So, unless you believe they're not going to do the things they say, then you should believe them.
Say it once, say it twice.
Say it once, say it twice.
We will not put up with ICE.
We will not put up with ICE.
Say it loud, say it clear.
Say it loud, say it clear.
We do not have any fear.
We do not have any fear.
Say it once, say it twice.
Say it once, say it twice.
We will not put up with ICE.
We will not put up with ICE.
Say it loud, say it clear.
Say it loud, say it clear.
We do not have any fear.
We do not have any fear.
No KKK.
No KKK.
No fascist USA.
No fascist USA.
No ICE. No KKK. No fascist USA.
Right. So again, it's KKK and fascism when you stop this violent criminal fraudster from, educating your children. There you go. Utterly insane. Okay? And this is something the ICE chief is further pointing out. So take a listen.
I want to get to probably the craziest illegal immigration story we've heard in a while, which is the superintendent of Des Moines, Iowa's public schools, Ian Andre Roberts. We'll show you a picture. There's the mugshot on the screen. An illegal from Guyana, active fugitive, a deportation order since 2024. He came here on a visa in 1999. He ran the public schools in Des Moines, Iowa. This guy, I mean, what an ascent. He was confronted by your agents. He fled. They found a loaded gun, a fixer blade hunting rifle, $3,000 cash in the car, and he's making over $300,000 a year running the schools in Des Moines. How on earth is any of that possible? He's also a registered voter. I thought that never happened. Your thoughts on this?
Right. Well, it's crazy. He actually came in 1994. He was arrested for selling narcotics. He had another charge for stealing a car. He left the country, came back on a student visa. Then he never left. Then he starts working all around the country, and he has more weapons charges. He has more vehicle charges, and then he gets a job as a superintendent. And then he is ordered lawfully deported. And then when my officers try to take him into custody, he runs, and he has a loaded weapon in the car. But what's really mind-boggling, Rob, is there was a protest for him. People were out there supporting him. And of course, I don't know how blind people can be to the facts.
Well, I didn't even know that until now, but apparently, yes, this guy got arrested in 1994 and deported back then. I don't know why you allow him to then have a student visa. Thank you, Bill Clinton, for that. What's going on there? But for narcotics possession and selling, and so narcotics trafficking, right, and carjacking. So just add that to the list of things Democrats believe makes you an upstanding member of society. Okay, so what do we have so far? Voter fraud, illegal weapons, running from the police, money laundering, stealing from taxpayers, frauding employment, all those things. But also don't forget to just add more to it. They also want, apparently, their superintendents to be violent carjackers and drug dealers. This is the Democrat Party, right? There you go. So tell that to the protesters. Okay, here's the full list, just in case I, missed anything in this video. Thank you, Libs of TikTok, for putting this together. So, in conclusion, Ian Roberts, the illegal alien superintendent for Des Moines Public Schools, had this long of a history, which, by the way, somehow passed the entire background check for that school system. So, he's a citizen of Guyana, yes, an obscure country in South America. He has never been a U.S. citizen, which, by the way, he checked off on that box. He was a U.S. citizen. entered the U.S. on a student visa in 1999. That visa expired in 2004. He was denied permanent residence 4 times. My understanding is the first few times he didn't even fill out the form correctly. By the end, his history was coming to light. He was not authorized to work when he was hired by Des Moines Public Schools in 2023. Reportedly lied that he was a citizen on the job application, which seems clear. Issued an order for deportation in 2024. Failed to report for the removal hearing. He didn't even show up to it. But no KKK, no fascist USA, right? Found to have multiple illegally obtained firearms after his arrest. Apparently, now it's okay when he has guns illegally, but gun control, well, we know what that's about, right? As I've been saying for a long time now, when Democrats say gun control, it's not about they blanketly want to ban all guns. It's just that they only want, their types of people. The people they want to have guns will have guns. And that includes, obviously, violent left-wing terrorists and illegal alien criminals like this right here, right? It's just they don't want the law-abiding citizens to have the Second Amendment. We know how that goes. But anyways, that registered to vote, lied about having a degree, yes, from Morgan State University, and reportedly even served a restraining order in 2023, the year he got hired. He was under a restraining order, ladies and gentlemen. So clap it up for the Des Moines public school system. Clearly they did such a fantastic job here, according to the Democrats. And wow, just what one of the craziest stories ever. Now, ICE has got this guy. He's probably going to do jail time and then get deported because it really is that bad. But I have to say, the story cannot end there. Okay? First of all, the entire Des Moines public school district needs to be under intense legal scrutiny and figure out what exactly happened. Furthermore, though, I guarantee you, this is far from the only case of an Ian Roberts-style individual in the United States of America, right? If it's happening once, it's happening many times elsewhere. So, if you ever needed more proof that, ICE is doing an important job, there you go. But remember, guys, he's an upstanding member of society. Iowa father with a driver's license from Maryland, which, by the way, he also broke another law there because he's supposed to legally change his driver's license within 30 days of moving to Iowa. Now, some people just kind of slow roll it. They don't really do it, but I like to point out, if you're going to be working as a public official in the state of Iowa, maybe you should have your legal address updated to Iowa as well. That seems pretty common sense, but it is what it is, guys. That said, let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comment section down below. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and until next time, God bless and peace.